Hey everyone, and welcome back here to my channel where we play Planet Zoo. First of all, I just want to show you a bit around. As you can see here, we have the lynx and the badger on each side. But I'm pretty sure you can see, if you've seen my other videos, that something has changed. I added this small area down here with a toilet block, a fox coffee, juice bar, and the hot dog stand. And then back here I just placed some stones and added a bit of small trees and bushes, and still keeping in the theme on this temperate European foliage work. The build itself but today we're gonna work out here, and I have this plan of a habitat that should be a forest where you can walk in. So you're gonna walk in here, and then I think that up here there's gonna be a waterfall, and on this side we're gonna have the entrance, on this side we're gonna have another exit from the habitat to another area. Today I actually kind of got a double habitat because I really wanted to finish out our European forest section here with the Eurasian Fallow Deer. But I didn't feel like the deer itself would bring out the forest vibes alone. So I feel like I really wanted something else to be there with it. Then I thought the moose would fit in perfectly, but you can't walk into a moose habitat in Planet Zoo. The wolves would also be perfectly, but you couldn't walk into them either. So the only other animals I could add in this habitat was the Greater Flamingo. So I'm gonna do that. But as you will notice, this habitat will mainly be built for the Eurasian Fallow Deer. But we gonna try and make it nice for the flamingos as well. But let's talk a bit about the Eurasian Fallow Deer. In Danish it would be the Europæisk Dårhjort, which is just one of many Danish and European deers. It is commonly confused with the Sika deer, the roe deer, and the red deer, which really isn't that weird because many of these deers can have a lot of color variation and comes in many sizes. The Eurasian Fallow Deer is a medium-sized deer, and the most common fur varies from pale brown to a red coat, but it can also vary from a white coat to a dark brown. Most of them have spots, but not all of them. But one way you can pick them apart from the other deers is their tail, which is longer and have this black stripe down in the middle. They mainly live in woodland and grassland, and sometimes mixed woodland, which in most of Europe would be in forest. But if they only would stay in the forest, because like many other deers, they have this issue where they wander around. They can ruin a farmer's field really easy, both with just eating the crops but also just running through it. The Eurasian Fallow Deer actually don't belong in Europe. It comes from the southwest of Asia, but around year 9000 after Christ it was introduced in the Mediterranean and in some regions of England, and it was mainly because it was a really easy forest deer to have. It isn't the biggest one, so they don't ruin the forest as much as other deers would do, and also it have a perfect size if you like to hunt. And back in the 9000 people really liked to hunt, and some people really needed to hunt, so introduces this deer really seems as a good idea. But the thing is that the deer didn't stay there, and within a few hundred years from the southern region of England, the deer actually traveled and later lived in both Ireland and Scotland too. And from the Mediterranean they migrated, and you can see today they live in Denmark, they live in Sweden, they live in Norway. They also really are a hazard in traffic. I know a lot of places around where I live. I actually live in a city, but 5 minutes from where I live we have these signs where it says, "Be careful, there can be deer just running around." And a deer is actually a pretty big animal to hit. It will hurt your car, but if you try not to hit it, then you could accidentally hit another car. car or just drive off the road. So they're actually not that wonderful to have in nature when they don't stay in nature. They live off grass, herbs and broadleaf browse, and also eat fruit and nuts when they find it. Today's info is from mammal.org.uk, and I have of course linked it below. But let's talk a bit about the Greater Flamingo. The flamingo is a whole nother story. Since it is a bird, it is quite difficult to just introduce some place and think that it would stay there. The flamingo mostly live by the coastline in Africa, Asia and Europe, although it prefers the warmer climate, so you wouldn't typically see them up here in the north where I live. They live mainly in the wetlands where there would be shallow water or a muddy flat. They actually eat by kicking up the bottom of the water or the mud pole with their feet, and then they just dig down sometimes with their whole head and just swallow what they can get from the mud or the water. And then inside their beak they actually have a filter that can filtrate any nutrition, any food source they would have before expelling the water back into the water or the mud pole. They live off a variety of different things, such as small organisms like plankton, fish, fly larvae, and shrimp like crustaceans, which actually is the reason why some of them are more pink than others, because they absorb some minerals from these shrimp-like crustaceans which affect their pigmentation. The Greater Flamingo is the biggest flamingo out there, but otherwise than that, it is pretty much a flamingo. They do live in these big groups called flocks or colonies, where they find their mate, and after mating they actually take turn incubating the eggs, so both mom and dad can go out and find themselves some food. But if an area dries out and there's no water or not enough food for everyone, then the flamingos actually will skip a mating season or two just to wait until there would be food enough to go around. But let's look a bit on the build here. As you can see, I started doing the water area, and here I add the waterfalls. I quickly changed my mind only to have one waterfall. And then I noticed I'm not sure if I turned them the wrong way around. It kind of seems that way. Because if you can see all of the splash in the top here. It doesn't seem the right way, but by turning it around here it looks fine. And this waterfall is from the aquatic park, if you don't know. Then I add some of these just to make the splash look bigger, and also because the waterfall is placed too low for the bottom water area here. So kind of to camouflage it, I add these. Then I thought about adding some splash on top, but I quickly changed my mind. Then I started with the stonework here, and as you can see, I will try to make the water area here look as realistic as possible. I just try here to camouflage it, which I think most zoos would do. I really like the top of these stones. Sometimes I like this structure better than the stones with the pebbles on. And probably I should have do the fences earlier to know how big the area would be, but better late than never. And then I just go in here and kind of draw with the non-barrier. Then I just look for what I want to. I really want the deers to be able to have a nice simple building. So I choose these wooden wooden walls here. I really love these wooden walls. They are so universal, I think, in a way. And then I just add the path in here. I always take the path out 1 too far, so when I connect the rest of the path, then it won't bend inside of the building. And I just try to make this fit as good as possible. And it's kind of... It takes me a while to figure out here that by placing the path here, then it automatically deletes down here, you can see, and that's why I couldn't place it before. And then I just connect these. And here you can see we get the animals in. And because of, you could see here with the traversable area, I think it's called, the deer and the flamingo wasn't able to walk over the stones, so normally I would have added more to conceal the concrete more, but I rather have the animals being able to walk down there. Here I have a hard time placing this keeper hut, so I actually end up cheating a bit by raising the building, and it's a really good tip, I think. Place it and then lower the building, and now you can see it's fine. And I just fit the... I always refit the barrier every time I add a building, if the barrier should touch the building anyway. Here I try to make the build a bit more realistic by adding here a section that you could block off if you had injured an injured deer, for instance, or you just needed to catch one, then you would be able to catch it in here without actually needing to tranquilize it. But for some weird reason they can't get through here, the deers. So I changed it a bit again. Especially in a habitat here where the guests can go in, it would be really nice to be able this way to catch an animal without actually having to go out in the habitat and catch it. Here you can just do it from here. So I have these fins that are movable, like they go into each other and inside a slash in the wall, so you could just pull it open and close with your hands. I think that would be the easiest and cheapest way to make it. Here I just move the window because I realize I don't want a door on that way. And here I used the Arctic roof, which again is a really universal roof, I think. And I really think it fits perfectly with this, again, wooden wall. And then, as you know, I go back in here. I just can't figure out how to do it before I add the roof, so I almost always go in and do it here after. Which I know is stupid, but that's how my brain works for some weird reason. Then we go in here, and in here there would be a lot of dirt, and then I changed the path from sand to dirt because I think the deer didn't like all the sand. And then here I add more dirt where they would walk around the most, and then I just shorten the grass to better fit the deer's needs. And then I kind of make these rock walls. Again, as I said in earlier videos, dirt wouldn't just be able to keep itself up. You either need to get a barrier, or the or the terrain need to be rock or stone to be able to keep itself up. Dirt or sand would never be able to keep itself up like that. So I actually end up making this cave completely out of stone on the inside. And in the mid, when we get up to the top, you can see that I keep grass some places on top, but completely cover it other places, which I feel would be realistic. Let's see here. And honestly, at this point, I couldn't care less about how it looked from from the top. If it was in a future life project, then the guest who arrived with helicopter would be able to see it, but that's not the premise of this zoo. So therefore, it really doesn't matter how it looks from the top. The only reason why I go in and just fix a little here is because I have an idea of something I want to place where you can see it. Or some of it anyway. I really like to use this real light pale gray stone. Because I really think it makes all of the other colors pop more. And it is a stone color you could find in the Danish nature. It's probably not this color you see the most of, but it really is a stone you could find in nature, and then it just multiplied here. So it seems fake because there's so many of them in the same color, but I kind of just like that everything we place around it pops more in color. And I use my normal routine here with the foliage oil. First trees, then bushes, then plants, then flowers last. And then again, it's just to make it all go together. It's always best to start with the biggest because it's easier to place smaller things between big ones than big ones between small ones. But at this point I made a mistake, and I don't know if you noticed, but I haven't placed any enrichment item yet. And if you played the game and just played with the flamingos once, you know their only form of feeding enrichment takes up a lot of space. And the deers also like these big trees and as enrichment, and they also take a lot of space. So some of the foliage work I use time on now, I actually either can't see or have to move after. And as you can see, this amount of foliage is way more than the flamingo actually like, but I just try to keep them happy on every single other welfare area, and then they'll be fine. I just wanted more than just the deers in here, and I actually think the way I combined this flamingo area on top with the deers is perfect. I do hope that some of the mods will be will be re-uploaded to 1.9 version really soon, because then I have an idea that we're gonna change out the flamingos in here with some other animals I have planned, and then we're gonna move the flamingos to more of the wetlands area, maybe put them in with the capybara or Maybe even they could also go with the what's it called? Platypus. Sorry, it's such a difficult name. In Danish, it's just called næbdyr. That means big animal. It says what it is. Platypus doesn't mean anything, so I get really confused. This barrel, I just try to change the color of so it fits better with the nature theme of this habitat. Here you can see I add 3 trees, and it's because we have quite a few deers in here and we want them all to be able to use one. And here you can see I have such a hard time placing this. And I wanted 2 of them. The flamingos also wanted 2 of them. And here you can see I completely covered in flowers I placed earlier. Here I just use this enrichment item, which would be a way to change off the water all the time. We had the vents in the bottom to where the water would go out and be cleansed, and then they could go back up and out of this enrichment items. Here I use the education board, and it is from the workshop by Shesta. It's called Education, Aquatic and Various, and it is linked below. And I didn't look too much at the other today she made, or he, I don't know. I just wanted to use the same for both of the animals in the habitat, and I actually think it kind of looks like the habitats. I know there's no trees on this, but the combination of the water have a big part of this habitat, even though it's not the deer don't. Yeah, they swim, but they aren't a water animal. So here I just fix this. And please, really, you can't have too many educational signs. Then I just do the donation box, and I choose 2 green colors to kind of camouflage it, which I know it's stupid because you wouldn't want your guests to see it, but I just want them to be discreet. Yeah, but all that's left to do now is to enjoy the cinemax. I chose today to add this part up here because I didn't film when I was doing it, but it wasn't enough for a video, I thought. So enjoy, and I will be back in a minute. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. You know the drill, like, subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you know the next time I upload a video. I really hope to see you again, either in the comments below or in the next video. Bye!